Judy Martz, Montana's only female governor, whose fiscal success running the state was overshadowed by scandal and various gaffes during her administration, has died at the age of 74. Martz had been battling pancreatic cancer. State political leaders such as Governor Steve Bullock are expressing sympathy and honoring Martz as a trailblazer for women in Montana. Martz, who was a Republican, served as governor from 2001 to 2005. She was noted for turning a state deficit into a surplus while reducing taxes and increasing funding for education. However, her term was besieged by missteps. Her popularity dropped down to 20% at its lowest point. She was a businesswoman, also an Olympic speed skater, who entered politics in 1996 as Governor Mark Roscoe's running mate. She ran for governor after Roscoe was barred from seeking a third term. 24-year-old Eduardo Lopez appeared in Missoula Justice Court yesterday before Judge Landy Holloway to face negligent homicide and criminal endangerment charges for a fatal wrong-way crash on Interstate 90 last week. Deputy Missoula County Attorney Brittany Williams was in the courtroom and detailed the charges.
This defendant was driving down Interstate 90 for approximately 11 miles, driving eastbound in the westbound lane, nearly hit 12 victims head-on, eventually did hit one victim head-on and caused a collision. Her vehicle was ignited by the chemicals that were in the back of the defendant's vehicle.
Williams specifically asked the judge to have Lopez monitored for drugs and alcohol after he posted his $100,000 bond.
We are requesting drug and alcohol monitoring, given that the defendant's blood toxicology report is still pending. He did make admissions to consuming alcohol the night before, and given the extreme circumstances of driving for 11 miles and interacting with numerous drivers with no idea he was in the wrong lane, it's clear that there's a potential for drugs or alcohol.
Lopez, who spoke very softly and hesitatingly to Judge Landy Holloway during his appearance at Justice Court, said he lives in Oregon and will be hiring his own attorney. He received permission from the court to travel back and forth from his home in Oregon as long as he follows conditions of his release. NBC Montana is reporting that the Highway Patrol said an elk that wandered onto a roadway caused another deadly crash Monday evening north of Missoula. The crash occurred after 7 o'clock last night on Highway 200 near Potomac. Highway patrolman said the car was headed east when it struck the elk on the roadway that caused the elk to go airborne, which then hit a Dodge truck going the opposite direction. The 21-year-old driver of that truck lost control and went down an embankment. The man, who officials said was from Salmon, Idaho, was pronounced dead at the scene. He was wearing a seatbelt. There was no immediate word on the condition of the other driver. Hunters in west central Montana didn't do quite as well this past weekend compared to the first week of general rifle season. However, Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks Public Information Officer Vivica Krauser said the results were still better than in recent years.
The hunters coming through the check stations and the harvest coming through slowed down a little bit in the second weekend of the season compared to the first. The cumulative season totals still look really good. They're up from where we've seen the last 3 years as totals, and the whitetail harvest is above anything we've seen since 2008, and elk harvest is up above where we've been since 2013.
There are 3 different hunter check stations in west central Montana. The results from each were very different.
The Blackfoot harvest is mostly accounted for through the Bonner check station, and we see most of the region's whitetail deer that way. So we're seeing those numbers through the Bonner station. Most of the elk harvest from the region comes through the Darby check station, and then Anaconda is pretty slow. All in all, it kind of sees a mixed bag of deer and elk there.
So far this year, Fish, Wildlife and Parks have checked in over 4,100 hunters who have brought in 157 elk, 21 muleys, 162 whitetails, 7 black bears, 1 bighorn sheep, and so far just 1 wolf. A political watchdog organization has accused the dormant congressional campaign of now U.S. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke of skirting contribution laws when it sold a motorhome to a friend of Zinke at a steep discount. The campaign legal center complaint was filed yesterday with the Federal Election Commission. It also accused Zinke's campaign of failing to report the identity of contributors. In August, the Associated Press reported the campaign bought the 2004 motorhome from Zinke's wife for $59,000 and sold it a year later to a Zinke friend in the Montana legislature for only $25,000. The complaint said the campaign either overpaid Zinke's wife or gave a sweetheart deal to the buyer, Senator Ed Buttrey. Zinke spokeswoman Heather Swift did not immediately comment. Montana Senator Steve Daines held a tele-town meeting last night from his office in Washington to addressed the need for tax reform. Daines responded to a question as to whether cutting taxes would explode the federal deficit.
The purpose of cutting taxes now is not to incur a budget deficit, but to achieve the more prosperous, expanding economy which can bring about a budget surplus. Do you know who gave that speech? That was John F. Kennedy in December 14th, 1962. And he talks about how tax cuts is a way to build a more prosperous, expanding economy.
Daines was promoting President Trump's plan to cut taxes in order to boost America's overall economy. Montana Congressman Greg Gianforte hosted fellow Congressman from Arkansas, Bruce Westerman, yesterday at the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation in Missoula to promote his Resilient Federal Forests Act.
We know that we need to get these canopies opened up, get more vegetative growth on the floor, get these forests where they're more resilient to wildfire and insects and disease. And that's what we're trying to do with the Resilient Federal Forest Act. It's going to be on the bill be on the floor in the House this week. And, I look for a good vote there, and we need to get our senators on board so we can get it on President Trump's desk and get his autograph on it.
Gianforte and Westerman had already visited a Western Montana lumber mill early in the day. A new medical clinic in Missoula is hoping to change the way we view the waiting room. Dr. James Quirk says his new office opened for business yesterday.
So it's an urgent care clinic called First Care. We are going to specialize in walk-in medical care, non-emergency care, such as minor injuries, cold and flu symptoms, ear infections, flu and pneumonia vaccinations, and sport and DOT physical.
Missoula already has urgent care clinics like Now Care and Cost Care, but Dr. Quirk says First Care offers something that's an actual first for Missoula.
And the way we're doing that is we have a website that you can go to, communityfirstcare.com, all one word, and they can schedule their appointment on that site. And so we're really trying to cut down any time they spend in a waiting room. It also will allow us to send text messages with reminders and alerts if the clinic is running behind.
The First Care Clinic is located in the Trempers Shopping Center. News Talk time now, 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station. Partly sunny skies today with our high temperatures in the upper 40s. Wind will be out of the west at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, chance of showers, overnight lows right around the freezing mark. We'll see areas of rain early on Wednesday, mixing with snow by Wednesday night. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.